simple interest stuff. Were there any questions from the lesson 3 check your understanding stuff that you wanted to do? Did you want me to do them all just to show you how where the answers come from? I can do them fast if you want. Or these were okay? They're okay? Alright. Were there any other word problems here? The simple interest ones on page 15? No, not too bad? Okay. In which case, we'll very quickly look at credit. So, part of the value of looking at credit cards, and yes, there's a bit of like math stuff, but it's also understanding what credit cards are. What is a credit card? What is a credit card?
Borrow funds.
You take money and then you give them interest.
Yeah, basically, it's traditionally if you needed to borrow money, right, you would have to go make an appointment at a bank and you'd have to get a loan and then you'd go, they'd give you the money and you'd go spend it on what you need. But that's not really convenient for small things, right? The banks don't want you to come there for, to take out a loan for $50, right? So credit cards are kind of a convenient way of having it's kind of like a loan that you have that's already set up for you and you can just start using that money. But you pay interest on the money that you borrow, okay? But normally the way a credit card works is that you have what's called an interest-free period, which means if you get a brand new credit card and you use it, you have to pay the money back in a month. Well, it's usually 28 days, okay? If you pay the money back, the card is free, usually, which means you don't pay any interest on it. What the credit card company is hoping for you to do is to not pay it back. Because if you don't pay it all back, what happens? They start charging you interest, and they charge you a lot of interest. Yeah, a standard credit card is around 19.99%, but they actually charge it daily. So what happens? That's an annual rate, but it's set up daily. So then what happens is it actually works out to a little bit more than that, more like 22%, right? Because they keep calculating it all the time, right? Question?
No, I think so. She said that I think she feels like.
Would I leave this here for Daddy?
For Bisham?
Yeah.
I can put it in his mailbox after. Yeah.
She said she feels I'm ready to come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk to guidance and get it changed. Yeah.
She said that whenever you done that, you are ready to go back.
Okay.
I think it's coming back.
Sure. It's whatever works best for you. So.
Know what was the things doing.
Okay. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Good stuff. So here, comparing credit cards, there's different kinds of cards. A standard card works kind of like this. They don't charge you any interest as long as you pay back the whole amount in 28 days. The interest rate's pretty high, around 20%. Standard works out to just over 20%. A lot of cards have an annual fee for using them. Some cards are free, some have an annual fee. And some will give you awards or points to use. Do you know what kind of awards they give you for using the card a lot? Yeah, some of them have you get some free gas if you get a Shell card or something like that. Some have air miles is really common. Air miles. That's what I have. I have an air miles card.
I think my mom's trying
Yeah, and we actually get about one free flight a year, just domestically. Like, you know, I have a sister in Toronto, so I'll usually have enough air miles I can go visit her once a year. I mean, it's not free because I have to pay like airport fees and stuff, but the flight is free. So you kind of, like with credit cards, you kind of have to shop around for them and decide how much you're going to use it and decide if you need it. The biggest problem with credit cards is that it requires self-discipline, right? Because it's like always having cash in your wallet. I would say, like, in the old days, before ATMs and debit cards, there was only cash, right? Or checks, cash or checks. So if I wanted to go out and do something fun, well, you couldn't use checks for that. You had to have cash. So your friend would call me up and be like, "Hey, do you want to go to a movie?" And I'd be like, "That sounds awesome. Let me go see if I have any money." And I would go look in my wallet, and if there was no money in it, I'd say, "Sorry, I can't go. I have no money." That's the way things worked, because the banks were only open during the day for a little bit, and there was no way to get money unless someone lent it to you. So we actually didn't do much because you had to have the actual cash. But now everybody's always got plastic on them, right? So it takes discipline to not run out of money. Credit cards, they're lending you money. Like, at least with a debit card, when it runs out, you're out of money, right? Today, having no money on your debit card is the equivalent of having no cash in your wallet, right? Has that happened? You tried to buy something, there's like no money in it? I can't be the only one. It must have happened to someone else. So, but then with credit cards, you're actually lending you money. And they're really insidious how they get you addicted to credit. Remember, Canadians have the highest personal debt load in the entire world. The average Canadian carries more personal debt than anywhere else in the world, which means we make lots of payments: credit cards, cell phones, etc., right? So the way the credit cards are kind of insidious is that so let's say when you first get a credit card, how many of you have a credit card? Anyone? It's okay. When you first got your credit card, what was the limit on it? Like $500? 500? You got one, your limit was 5,000 on your first credit card? No.
No,
Oh,
500.
500, yeah. So normally it's 500. And it's kind of like a trial period for you. So what happens is you have your $500, and then at some point you start spending money, right? And then you get your bill. Now, if you get your bill and you pay it off in time, the credit card company knows, okay, you can make your payments, right? But that's not what they really want you to do. They want you to make the minimum payment so they can start charging you interest. And here's what happens. If you don't pay off the amount that you used, they start upping your limit. As long as you keep making those minimum payments, they keep increasing your limit. Because what they want is they want you to have a $10,000 limit credit card with $10,000 owing on it, but you keep making the minimum payments. That's ideal. So once the credit card company has you locked in, owing them a lot of money, and all you're doing is making those minimum payments, they are making a lot of money off of you. So that's their business model, right? They don't make any money if you pay it off every month. And Canadians are the worst in the world for not paying it off every month, right? We carry the most debt, which means we're making a lot of debt servicing, like we're servicing our debts. So it's not uncommon for people to borrow money, and then by the time they pay it back, they've paid back a lot more than what they borrowed, right? And there's places that are worse than that. Furniture places, right? Like, you don't pay a cent for a year. Those are traps, is what those are, right? Because they charge you extra. So that's credit cards. Now, if you do have some discipline and you can handle a credit card, you should shop around. If you're someone that knows that you can't always pay it off, you should shop for one that has a really low interest rate. Because if you're going to be paying interest, you want to pay as low as possible, right? So take the card that's got that 5% interest rate. or 10% or whatever. Better than 20, right? If you're someone that pays it off every month, get the one with the rewards, right? So what my wife and I do is we have a joint credit card set up through Air Miles, and everything we pay for goes through that card. The reason for that is so we can get the Air Miles. Right? So all our payments, everything we can do payments through goes through the credit card. And that way we get like a free flight or two every year. Okay? But we pay it off. So it's okay for us. We do have to pay a fee though. Ours is $100 a year. But we make more than that. Like a flight is worth more than $100. So we make money on it. But it takes discipline. And I don't think I could have done that when I was young. Okay? I did do one smart thing. It might be the only smart thing I did when I was young. My very first credit card I got in university. Any idea why they would give credit cards to university students? Well, no, I mean, if you're in university, usually you're poor, right? So why would they be giving out credit cards? Like, they made it easy to get it. Any idea why?
Future spending.
Yeah. Get you early because you're in university, you're likely going to get paid more, and they want to get you early, right? So, and they did. So the one smart thing I did in university, it might be the only smart thing, is I signed, my wife was my girlfriend then. I told her, you should do this too. They weren't attached, but I said, but it was a credit card that had first home buyers points. And what it was is every time you spent money on the credit card or you used it, a little bit of money would go into this account that you could eventually use towards a down payment on a house. And I was like, oh, someday I'd like to probably buy a house. So I didn't really think much about it, but that's the card that attracted me. I wasn't interested in Air Miles. I said, that home buyers thing, that sounded pretty cool. I don't even know if it exists anymore. But it was set up through, there was a MasterCard set up through BMO. Anyway, fast forward many, many years later, my then girlfriend and I got married. We eventually wanted to buy a house. When we went to get the mortgage, which is the loan for the house, right? Because we didn't have the cash. No, if you're buying a house for cash, the government's going to be interested in how you got all the cash. Okay, so we got a mortgage, and we went to the bank, and because of this credit card, what do you got? Oh, okay, sure. Yes. It's okay.
I have to go. I have a sick kid.
Oh yeah, I get those calls too.
Have a good day.
You too. So when we went to get the mortgage, I said, you know what? We have these home buyer things. And they're like, oh, cool. And they looked into it, and guess how much money was sitting in there that I was able to use towards my down payment? There's no possible way. $1,500. So it was the equivalent of $1,500 cash. So that was nice because I wasn't expecting it. I hadn't kept track of it. I'd had the card for many, many years. And my wife had a card as well. And now that we were married, we were able to join the two accounts. So she spends more money than me, so maybe it was $1,000 in hers and $500 in mine. I don't know. But the point was it made it easier for us to get a house, which was pretty cool. So credit cards can be, if you have discipline and you don't get caught in that debt trap, they can be useful. They also build your credit rating. So if eventually you want to buy a house or something like that, well, you've proven that you can handle debt, that you can make your payments, you're reliable. So you build a credit rating that way. But for a lot of people, especially in Canada, they are dangerous. Anybody know anybody who got themselves into credit card trouble? Anybody willing to admit they've been in credit card trouble? Yeah. Did it get you into trouble?
I went in trouble
Yep.
I was young though.
Yep. And then afterwards you cut it up and you don't have one now?
Yeah, I don't have it now.
Smart. Yeah, it's a pretty common thing that happens to people. Because, it's like, because it's easy to use. And I think in our minds, we always convince ourselves that, oh yeah, I can pay it off. But then when it comes time to paying it off, and you got no money, you're like, crap. Okay, now I'm in trouble. Okay. And then people like, don't pay it and just hope it goes away. It's like a problem, you hope it goes away. And it doesn't go away.
Goes on your credit.
Yeah.
If you don't increase your limit, let's say you took it for 1,000,
Yeah.
and they need you to increase for 5,000. If you say no, I'm good for 1,000, you maintain 1,000.
That's interesting. Yeah. So that's another thing. That's the insidious thing. They keep increasing your credit limit on you, even if you don't want them to. They usually announce it like it's a positive thing. Oh, you've been such a good customer. We've increased your credit limit to $5,000. No, you don't want that. Because they want you to start getting excited about the concept of buying something for $5,000, right?
Yeah.
They want you to say, oh, I can buy it. I got more money.
When they increase your credit limit, does it mean that you have to pay more interest fee?
They're hoping that you'll max out your credit card and now you'll pay them more interest. Yes. Yeah. That's what they're hoping, right? And and people get caught in this trap. So let's say you max out your $5,000 credit card, but you're able to make the $20 a month payment or whatever. Well, now they're just going to up it to $10,000 to see if you can handle $10,000, right? And make the $50 a month payment or whatever. And as long as you're making that minimum payment, they'll just keep giving you more money. Because that's how they make. That's their business model. It's dangerous, right? Because then you can never get out from under that crushing debt load. Okay. Now, as far as the work that we do in here, we just have to have an understanding of how credit card payments work. So you basically have your interest-free period for 28 days, and as long as you pay back the whole amount that you borrowed, you don't pay any interest. However, here's another little nasty thing about credit cards. If you do not pay the amount you owe in full, you pay interest on the whole amount. Now, here's what this means. This is crazy. Let's say you got a brand new credit card and you maxed out the $500, okay? And after 28 days, you get your first statement and it says you owe $500, minimum payment's $5 or whatever. Let's say that you only had $499 to pay on it. So you make a $499 payment towards your $500 of debt. So you're short $1. The credit card company will then charge you 28 days interest on how much? The whole 500. Because you didn't make it. So even though you paid off almost all of it, you were short $1, they'll charge you on the $500 for the 28 days. Scary? Yeah. So they don't care. It's all in the fine print, and you can barely read it. You need a magnifying glass to read a credit card contract, and it's huge. It's all legal, right? And if you do not pay off the whole amount, they start charging interest on that. And then here's what happens. The next month, if you don't pay it off, they charge you interest on the new stuff that you purchased, plus they charge you interest on the old balance, which means now they're charging you interest on the interest they charged you. And then it just starts building up. It's like the snowball effect. The small snowball at the top of a hill, and as it rolls down, it gets bigger and bigger. And that's what happens to your debt. And so it's pretty scary when people get caught and the debt just keeps getting bigger and bigger and they can't get out from under it. Okay? So you have to know yourself if you have the discipline to pay it off or not. And to not get excited about buying new things. Because that's also part of the problem, right? Is that we're always told that we should be getting the newest things. There's a new iPhone coming out, and people want it. Why? Is your old phone broken? No, they just want it, right? New set of Air Jordans come out. They just want it, right? and the credit card lets them get it without them saving up the money. So anyway, we got to be careful.
Are you in page 17 or 18?
Which one? Oh, we're
Page 18?
page 18, yeah. So we were just talking about different types of credit cards here. So they can be good, right? You can get good things from them, like rewards. But for a lot of people, it gives them access to money they can't pay back. Calculate the new balance for a credit card. So basically, here's all you really need to remember with these credit card questions. When you're calculating the balance, everything is plus, 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 plus. Just add up all the numbers and subtract the payment. So whatever payment was made, that's the only negative one. Everything else is a plus. You'll have the money that you still owed from the last month, that's called your outstanding balance. You'll have your new purchases that you made, that's an add, plus any interest they charged you, that's an add. But if you made a payment, you subtract that. Okay? So it's a lot of pluses and one minus. So here's an example. Daisy had a previous balance of $1,280.67 on her credit card. This month, she made a payment of $75 and used her card to make another purchase of $500. Calculate her new balance. So when I'm doing these questions, I just put little pluses on all the money that's owed. There's the old balance. There's the purchase. And then when I see the word payment, that's the part I subtract. So then I just add up the numbers subtracting the one payment to find out the new balance. That's it. It's no more difficult than that. It's adding and subtracting. Example 3, calculate the amount of interest owed. Now careful with this one. The most common mistake that students make is they multiply by the interest rate. Like you said, my credit card's quite often 19.99% or whatever. But that's for a year. It's only a month, so divide by 12. So remember to divide the interest rate by 12 months. Okay, so in this example, Amir's monthly credit card statement shows a balance of $1,082.69. If the credit card company charges 21.99% annual interest, calculate the amount of interest Amir owes if he did not pay off his bill fully. So there was the amount owed, $1,082.69. And then you'd multiply that by the 21.99% or 0.2119 and divide by 12. And it works out to $19.84 interest. So that's profit. So that means that credit card company made $19.84 off of this person. And they're probably going to make it again in a month, like $20 a month. Which doesn't seem like a lot, but millions of people in Canada have credit cards. So imagine if there's 1 million people paying $20 a month. That's $20 million a month. They're very, very wealthy, these companies. Okay, so let's see here. Example 4, calculate the minimum monthly payment due. This isn't a realistic example. I think the minimum monthly payment is usually quite a low percentage. You know, you can have a credit card of $5,000 and the minimum monthly payment might only be like $10 or something, which is ridiculous. Right? But they want to get you caught in that trap of making small payments and constantly owing them more and more money. The only time they'll come and collect it all is when you die. Okay, your estate will pay it out if you have one. Okay, example 4. Sunny owes $896.42 on her credit card. Her credit card company requires a minimum monthly payment of 15%. So you just multiply by 15% to find out the minimum monthly, $134.46. Usually in real life it's a lot smaller than that. It might be 3%. But in this example. So as the rest of the work we've been doing, when you see percents, you usually have to multiply them. Example 5. Shay has an outstanding balance of $2,560 on his credit card. His credit card company requires a minimum monthly payment of 5% or $100, whichever is bigger, greater. So you calculate it, multiply it by 5%. That works out to $128. Which one's bigger, 128 or 100? Yeah, the 128, so that becomes the minimum payment. So that, you'll expect a question like that on the test. They'll say, what's the minimum monthly payment? And they'll give you the option of at least this much or the amount that you calculate. And that's kind of it for credit cards. So all you need to, so just to recap, add up all the numbers. The only one that gets subtracted is the payment. If you have to calculate the interest, remember to divide by 12. Okay? And the only other thing that comes up is minimum monthly payment, whichever one's greater. Calculate it and then compare. Those are the three things you need to do with credit cards. It's not bad. It's just a lot of reading those. Just be careful. Okay? So if you're at this point in the booklet, you can try these questions. Lesson 4, page 20.